Good evening, YouTube. Tired Metalhead Weatherman here. Hopefully, you guys are doing well. Much more active day today. Very much more active. A lot of wind reports. A few more tornado reports as well. We have 8 tornado reports, 83 wind reports. This has actually gone up since the last time I'd looked. And now 9 hail reports. We also have mesoscale discussion concerning a severe weather threat, severe weather watch, as of 6 minutes ago, actually. This in all likelihood will be a severe thunderstorm watch, as we are kind of starting to trend away from the tornado watches, more towards a linear type of setup. So we'll have to watch towards central Alabama for our next watch to be issued. I think we will see a few more watches issued tonight, and then this will probably carry over into tomorrow. We still have a couple of tornado watches in effect towards South Georgia and Southern Alabama. We'll be keeping an eye on those. From what I saw, we had one tornado warning active over towards Alabama. I think that was Jones County that I saw from a few minutes ago. So if you're over there, of course, take cover. There's a radar indicated tornado, so there's nothing. So as of right now, there's no confirmation of anything down. Still, we need to watch for the potential of something dropping before the end of the night. That being said, we know of our enhanced risk today. That's still in effect towards mainly parts of southern Alabama and southeastern Mississippi. Georgia, you're kind of hanging in that slight risk, but this risk area will be starting to shrink in size as we head further into the night. But we do have a slight risk tomorrow, and I'm going to go over some of the areas that are entailed with that. This is mainly going to be south of the metro area. We can look at areas like Columbus, Tallahassee, Warner Robins, Albany. You guys are in that slight risk of Vidalia. Camden County, you guys are all in there as well. We also have to watch Panama City here too, Tallahassee, Dothan, Alabama. We're watching you guys for the threat of severe weather. And this marginal risk even goes into the mid-Atlantic for some areas. We'll talk about Virginia Beach, just south of the Richmond area. You're in there as well. Most of North Carolina and all of South Carolina is in a marginal risk. Mainly, this threat will be highlighted by a tornado and wind threat. Tornado threat's at 5% in that slight risk area, and our wind threat is at 15%. Anywhere else in the green or brown areas, depending on which hazard you're looking at, is our marginal risk. So that's what we have going on. And then the great news is, on day 3, that system will be moved out and we will have no severe weather. So we just got to get through tomorrow and we should be good to go, at least as far as this storm system is concerned. So one other thing to note here is that there is a marginal risk that had popped up here towards the cold core side of this setup here. And as a result, we did end up seeing a couple of tornadoes here. If we look at the storm reports, look at that. There's actually a cluster of them. Oh, there's a new tornado report. And this was actually south of my area. Wow. Looks like it's about maybe 40 or 50 miles south, but still, that's pretty interesting. I actually want to take a look at that, and I will later. I guess I'll update you on that situation, especially for my folks that live in Atlanta. But very active times, and we're still not done yet. It's quiet right now over our area, but we'll have to watch for more weather to pop up tonight and into tomorrow, especially tomorrow morning. So one other thing to note is, like I said, with that cold core system, we've also had a winter weather setup. While I'm having trouble trying to find reports of ice, I can get reports of snowfall totals. And what we have going on here is there was a big band that it's set up right along the South Carolina and Nebraska line. And as a result, there are some pretty significant snowfall totals in this region. Some places we're going to get over a foot, especially towards the border. Here we have South Dakota and Nebraska border seeing some spots up to about 18 inches. Some locally higher amounts are possible still, and snow is still falling in some of these regions. Then we also look towards south central Nebraska. We're still hitting that foot mark, or about 8 to 12 inches. And it isn't until we get towards southern Nebraska and Kansas where those totals kind of drop off. Now, there is a chance for some snow to wrap around on the backside of the system, so these totals may not be final here. So we'll have to see what happens with you guys, and we will be sure to do that tonight. And then we're also concerned about our ice totals over here, especially towards the north and north central areas of Iowa. Wisconsin, you're next in line for ice, and we'll have to keep an eye on you throughout the next couple of days, and then we'll see what the Northeast has in store for this system. Because just because the severe threat's over does not mean the winter weather threat is over. So we'll be keeping an eye on this area as time goes on. So now we're going to start to kind of hone in a little further on that severe threat for tomorrow. And we'll be hoping to see this off as well by tomorrow afternoon. But this is what we're looking at right now. This is the composite reflectivity. You can see that we have a chance for some discrete cells to still pop up around southern Mississippi. I do think that severe thunderstorm watch should maybe be a tornado watch. But of course, this is only the HRRR I'm looking at. There's a bunch of other models showing a bunch of different things. And it's through that combination, looking through multiple models, that the Storm Protection Center chooses how they issue their watches. Of course, with these discrete cells, I do think there's still a window for a couple of tornadoes to form, maybe even a strong one. But some of the dynamics will be starting to go away by this point, as we've lost the daytime heating and so on and so forth. But we can see there's these little clusters of storms here, especially towards the southern end of this setup here, where we could still have to watch out for a few quick spin ups. Damaging winds are still possible. Hail is still possible too. And then, oh, that looks a little ominous right there. Actually, look at this storm right here. I'm actually going to take a sounding of that. And what do you know? Look at that. I mean, with that kind of structure, it's no surprise there. One thing that could limit the potential of this storm producing a tornado is the lack of lapse rates at the low level of the atmosphere. So I'm not as concerned about this as I feel like I should be in a sense, because of the simple fact that these low level lapse rates can really inhibit that prime charged up atmosphere making its way all the way to the ground. But if this does end up overcoming that and producing, it could be a big problem, because we have some very impressive storm relative felicities on that, especially at the low level of the atmosphere, even into the mid levels. So that is concerning. We do need to watch that. This even shows potential of maybe even an EF3 tornado if it were able to take advantage of the entire atmosphere. Likelihood of that still slim, like I said, but not impossible. I'm showing what the potential is, not necessarily to scare you, but to know what could be possible as time goes on. And this is right towards the Alabama-Georgia line, right towards where our enhanced risk is and where our slight risk will be tomorrow. So we'll have to watch that. And then, of course, we'll watch these storms roll through the early morning hours. And then by the time we get towards lunchtime, Georgia will be cleared out of most of these. And then we'll be looking in the Carolinas and the mid-Atlantic for the severe threat from that point. At this point, I do think we're going to start to lean towards more of a linear type of threat, which is pretty much code for damaging winds here. Marginal tornado threat is still possible, but as we can see here, even the hordeograph kind of starts to lean towards more of a linear look versus what we were seeing with that last sounding. So with that being said, let's go ahead and sneak this up north just a little bit, just so we can get a good view of the mid-Atlantic. We don't want to leave you guys out. So this is what we're looking at current time over here. And as we move this forward, I know I have maybe a couple of viewers over here towards eastern Tennessee and northeastern Kentucky. Severe threat is not going to make it to you guys. You may see some heavy rain tomorrow, but for the most part, I think you guys will be okay. Just watch out for maybe some ponding on the roads, because these storm systems have packed quite a wall up when it comes to the heavy rain side of it. Dealt with some heavy rain earlier. It almost sounded like it was thunder, almost just nonstop. It's pretty crazy. But that's what we could be dealing with over there. A couple rounds of that. And then for the most part, like I said, the severe threat looks to be relatively tame. Maybe on the leading edge of this, some damaging winds are possible over towards the Carolinas and maybe towards west or east, in east central Virginia. We'll have to watch you guys there. And then by late afternoon and into the evening hours, that's when we'll watch the last of these storms start to really clear out. And then we'll be cooling down just a little bit and dealing with much calmer weather come Thursday morning. So now we've taken a look at that. Let's go ahead and look at the nation in particular as far as the reflectivity is concerned. So again, here's our dynamic storm system. Here's our wintry side right here. Here's our severe side. We're going to jump this forward a bit, and we can still see that there's some ice potential here based off the HRRR, but not as abundant as what we were seeing before. A lot more cold air started to funnel into the center of this system, where we were a lot closer to the warm sector a little bit earlier in the day. So as time goes on, we're watching these showers make their way into the northeast. Severe threat really isn't there. The ice threat looks like it actually is trending north of the border. Maybe towards the Great Lakes, you might see a little bit of wintry mix and ice action. But this doesn't last for a very long period of time. And this low just kind of meanders right around the Great Lakes all the way into the weekend. You might see some lake effect snow on this in some areas, but for the most part, it's not going to be relatively significant at this time. Meanwhile, over towards the northwest, we have a lot of action over towards the Sierra Nevadas as that atmospheric river continues to roll in new storm systems, but it looks like maybe tomorrow could be a little bit quieter, at least towards the morning hours. When we get to the afternoon, that's when business will start to pick up. And we'll be watching the snow really start to fall in the higher elevations by Thursday morning. And then this will be working its way towards the western half of the country. And I'll make a video covering this next storm system probably tomorrow afternoon, most likely. So now that we've looked at that, let's go ahead and take a look at our overall snowfall totals. We're going to go over to the blend of models. We're going to look probably about, I'd say 48 hours out maybe. Actually about 36, I would say. So here's what we got going here. Our snow that's left over to fall will mainly be centered over Minnesota. The Minneapolis area, you're definitely in there as well. Northern Wisconsin, you could see some big totals. I think a heavier snow band is set. The state is set as has a kind of, it has the potential to stage itself over you guys, especially towards the knob part of Wisconsin and over towards the UP of Michigan. We could see some totals above a foot of snow in these areas. Not unheard of for you guys, but definitely something that could hamper your road conditions and just hamper your day in general. But as we transition further to the south, those snow totals quickly start to lessen. We're starting to we quickly go from that foot to 6 to 10 inches quickly down to 2 to 4 inches, and then by the time we get towards central and southern Iowa, we're looking at maybe an additional inch or less of snow. Not too much action going on towards the towards the western half of the country. Relatively small snowfall totals. This will probably be picking up as we head more towards the weekend, I would say. Maybe some places towards the upper elevations before Friday could see a total of about maybe, I'd say, 2 to 4 inches. Like I said, it's mainly going to be towards the higher elevations of the Sierras where we get the bigger snowfall totals. But one thing I will note here as well, and really this is across also the southeast, and we're going to take a look at that also, is the flood threat. Flood threat is still pretty significant over this area and this area here, so we're going to go ahead and talk about that in just a moment. But first, before we do that, we're going to talk about the ice totals too. So our ice totals, and this is looking at the blend of models, pretty much not too much going on here. Maybe just north of the border. Some parts of Adirondack maybe could see some ice. Nothing particularly crippling, except for maybe this far northeastern corner of New York when we have to watch. But beyond that, I don't think it's going to be too bad. We'll have to see what this ends up doing and how quickly this could fall. Hopefully, this would end up melting before it would really start to accumulate, because this storm system is going to be mainly tracking a little further to the north. So maybe this warm layer will kind of help inhibit some of this total here. And pretty much between all the models, it's relatively the same here. I mean, some of them are a little bit more aggressive, like the GFS and the HRRR are pretty aggressive with this, as well as the Canadian. Some of the longer range models are, but shorter range and, well, really the shorter range models are too. But these seem relatively unrealistic. We'll have to see how this ends up trending, but just be on the lookout for icy conditions on some of the roadways over here towards northern and northeastern New York. Same with the snowfall conditions. And then, last but not least, of course, is our quantitative precip. It's mainly going to be looking at our rainfall totals. We'll kind of compare everything with this, and there's not really too much that's going to be out of sync here. Maybe some of the longer range models may show a little bit more aggression, but not by much. For the most part, northern Georgia looks like it's going to have the heaviest rainfall from the looks of this, rainfall left over to fall. Maybe a little bit of a higher total over towards the Appalachians as well. And then, of course, where our atmospheric river is. You can kind of almost tell it's a river just based on these crazy totals and the way they kind of surge into Northern California here. Some big totals are possible over here. And then we'll compare this with some of the other models here. Canadian's not going to be too much different. Oops, I've made a mistake. Canadian shows a little bit more of a swath towards just south of Atlanta, which seems plausible. But this is also an older model run. We're waiting for the OOZ on that to come out. And pretty much it's the same thing towards the this sector of the western U.S. here. We look at the GFS. We're starting to trend a little bit more northward. HRRR, we're trending actually a little bit more southward, which I find interesting. And then as we go to the traditional NAM, we're kind of in the middle right here, especially towards Atlanta. This could be some locally higher totals in this as well. And then the NAM 3 kilometer, which is a lot better resolution. Of course, we're looking a little further to the north, and then the blend of models honing in on some big totals towards the Cali coast here, all up and down it, honestly. Some totals could be up to about 3 to 4 inches easily. Some locally higher totals possible. Towards the valleys and foothills, the Sierras, we could see some pretty significant rainfall. Temperatures are going to be a little bit too warm for you guys to have snow in the valleys, but up towards the higher elevations, we're in business for some moderate to heavy snow. But that's pretty much all I got for this video here. Shouldn't have been too lengthy of a video. It feels like this video has been shorter than some of the other ones I've made. It's been pretty wild here. But happy 2023. Anyway, I've also noticed the viewership on the channel has been down lately. So if you by some chance are not getting my videos, just look up my name in the search bar and let me know in the comments. And one thing that you could also do is, if you remember when you subscribe to me, just get that bell on. And while I hate to do this due to how frequently I upload, you could always hit that bell and set it to all notifications instead of personalized. So that way you're able to get everything that I do if you're trying to watch my videos to that extent. So get that bell on, help me out, and then of course I'll reciprocate in kind. Also, of course, share the channel and subscribe, because I'm trying to push towards at least 200, maybe even 300 by March here. That's actually the 1-year anniversary of the channel. And of course, yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I kind of lost track of myself here. But anyways, enough rambling for me. This has been Metalhead Weatherman. You guys have a good You guys have a good night. Stay safe, and I'll see you soon.